This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Yunxiao gave him a sideways glance and sneered, "You're crazy." He then turned around and no longer paid any attention to them. Instead, he greeted Li Feiyu and the others from a distance. Mu Hong's face turned ashen and he said angrily, "Good boy. Don't you even know the manners to respect your martial Dao seniors?" But Yunxiao still greeted Li Feiyu and the others, and then his eyes fell on an open space in the distance. Although there was no one there, the undisguised powerful aura exuding from the void was definitely not an ordinary person. "Damn it! You're courting death." Mu Hong roared angrily. The contempt had driven him completely mad. His aura burst out in an instant, and the rocks under his feet cracked like a spider web as a powerful aura pushed toward Yunxiao. Impudent. Ning Keyue's face darkened. A force came out of her body and condensed into a huge transparent pigeon, which flew over. As soon as the pigeon landed above Mu Hong, it immediately suppressed his aura and slowly descended. Aura can actually transform? Mu Hong was shocked. He was shocked. Only now did he understand how terrifying the 7 superpowers were. He said in fear, "Stop. I just want to teach this rude junior a lesson. You don't have to offend our Mu family for him." Mu Hong's face was filled with pride as he said, "Although the 7 of you are the most powerful on the continent, our hidden Mu clan's strength is definitely above yours. It's probably similar to your holy region and soul formation C. If you offend our Mu Chanqian..." Boom. Ning Keyue condensed her breath, and the huge fat pigeon fell directly, shattering Mu Hong's breath and turning into a strong wind. Mu Hong, who was still feeling smug, was immediately sent flying by the explosion, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Fortunately, his own strength was not ordinary. After being sent flying a few times in the air, he landed safely on the ground. His eyes were filled with shock and he said in anger, "Are you guys really going to be enemies with the Mu family?" Everyone looked at him as if he was an idiot. Everyone here was an overlord and a famous person. They had long wanted to beat him up when they heard him talking so much. They were still blaming Ning Keyue for being too gentle. Yang Tianyun couldn't stand it anymore. The Mu clan had always been on good terms with the Sea of Soul formation. If something happened to Mu Hong here, he wouldn't be able to answer to the Mu clan. In fact, Mu Hong wasn't a bad person. It was just that these reclusive families didn't know the situation on the mainland at all. They had been separated from the mainland for too long and were all ignorant and arrogant. Cough cough. "City Lord Jiang, this Mu Hong and I have some friendship, I hope you can show mercy." Yang Tianyun begged. Jiang Churen gestured for Ning Keyue to leave. He smiled and said, "Since Elder Tianyun has spoken, I'll naturally give you face. Otherwise, if you cause trouble on the Purple Cloud Peak, it won't be settled by just spitting out blood." "Thank you." Yang Tianyun cupped his hands. After being hit, Mu Hong's face turned livid. He seemed to have become more honest and did not dare to speak nonsense again. He only said with a gloomy face, "Elder Tianyun, this kid has taken the Mu family's golden armored man. We have to make him return it no matter what." Yang Tianyun was speechless. The two of them signed a life and death contract. It was a fair competition. Young Master Yun won, but he didn't take Feng Jun's life. He only took a puppet. He's already been very kind. When everyone heard this, they finally understood what was going on, and each and every one of them revealed looks of disdain. "That golden armored man is an important weapon of the Mu family," Mu Hong said anxiously. "We can't let anyone else know about it." Everyone started to mock them disdainfully. These people from the hidden aristocratic families were really stupid. Who cared if the Mu family could spread the news or not? If they lost, they had to admit their loss. Yang Tianyun was a little angry at his stubbornness. He waved his sleeves and said, "Then I can't do anything about it. Brother Hong, you have to think of a way yourself." Just as Mu Hong was at a loss, Mu Fenghua, who had been expressionless and silent the whole time, suddenly said, Li Yunxiao, what will it take for you to return the golden armored man to my younger brother? Everything can be discussed. Yunxiao gave him a look and said with a smile, at least the MU family has someone who can speak. That gold-armored man is of no use to me, but I'm very interested in one of the materials used to make it. Oh. I wonder what it is. If it's possible, I'm willing to exchange for the golden-armored man. Mu Fenghua said quietly, neither servile nor overbearing. Yunxiao praised him in his heart. Under his divine sense, he could tell that the young man's strength was like a still volcano, and he had no idea how high it could erupt. Besides, his nonchalant attitude was extremely rare. His lips moved slightly as he sent a voice transmission directly. Mu Fenghua's pupils contracted, and his expression changed. He muttered, this item is also extremely rare for our Mu clan. Can we exchange it for something else? Yunxiao shook his head and said, to be honest, I know a little about the reclusive families. They are basically all poor people. There are very few things that I like. If I don't have it, I'll have to melt the golden armored man down and refine it. When Mu Hong heard this, it was as if he was being called a pauper. He was furious and shouted, Fenghua, what does he want? Mu Fenghua also sent a voice transmission over and said, memory origin gold. What? This thing? Mu Hong's eyelids twitched. This item was indeed extremely precious. His face turned ugly, like a pig's liver. It is indeed very difficult for you, who are extremely poor in resources, Yunxiao said with a smile. It is very difficult for you. Although this thing is precious, our Mu family still has a large stock. How much do you need to exchange for the golden armored man? Mu Hong laughed coldly. Everyone's face was filled with black lines, revealing a stunned expression. They all thought in disbelief, how could these people be so innocent? All of them were like children, falling for a simple provocation. It seemed that these reclusive families only knew how to cultivate in seclusion, and their intelligence had degenerated. 500 caddies? Yunxiao narrowed his eyes and said with a smile. I guess so. Pfft. Mu Hong spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes widened like copper bells and he roared, 500 Jean? You're playing with me? The smile on Yunxiao's face did not fade, but it only grew colder as he snorted and said, that golden armored man must be at least 10,000 Jean heavy, right? I'm asking you to exchange for 500 Jean, and you're still not satisfied? Mu Hong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said angrily, is there a need to compare? At most, it would weigh 100 Jean. No more talking. Yong Tianyan's heart twitched. He looked at Mu Hong in shock, then at Yunxiao. Although the memory origin gold was not of much use, it was definitely an extremely difficult item to obtain. 100 caddies was simply a sky-high price. It was much more precious than his 1 caddy of soul sprout. He also had some understanding of the golden armored man. Although it was a 9th rank puppet, it definitely wasn't worth 50 kilograms of memory origin gold. Mu Fenghua's thick eyebrows rose. Mu Hong's heart was also bleeding. His limit was only 20 caddies, but the difference between his price and Yunxiao's was too great. He was afraid that he would be laughed at if he told the others. All the heroes of the world were gathered here, and they must not weaken the MU family's prestige. Yunxiao looked displeased and said, the memory origin gold is a metal. How much can 100 Jean be? And he said he had a large stock. Forget it, I'll refine the golden armored man myself. Perhaps I'll be able to refine some other precious things and perhaps even figure out the method to refine this puppet. Everyone's face darkened when they heard that. They thought that Yunxiao was too unkind. He was setting up a trap again, and with Mu Hong's intelligence, he had almost zero defense against it. As expected, Mu Hong's expression changed and he said angrily, even if you were to refine all of the memory origin gold from that golden armored man, it would only be 7 to 8 Jean at most. I'll add another 20 caddies at most, so I'll give you 120 caddies. Don't be too greedy. Although our Mu family is rich, we will never do business at a loss. Everyone. I see, that makes sense. With a sincere look on his face, Yunxiao said awkwardly, "All right, it's really hard to do business with your Mu family. I wanted to take advantage of you, but you saw through me." With a wave of his hand, a huge golden puppet appeared in front of him. It exuded an extremely strong power of tool accumulation and seemed to be extremely extraordinary, attracting everyone's attention. It seemed that this hidden Mu clan really did have some skill. This golden puppet was definitely a 9th-ranked item. On the heavenly martial continent, there were very few sects that used puppets as weapons, and no one had ever heard of a level 9 puppet. Of course. Mu Hong said proudly. The Mu family has been trading with the Sea of Soul formation for hundreds of years and we have never suffered any losses. The heartache of paying 120 pounds of memory origin gold was slightly relieved after Yunxiao's praise. Everyone looked at Yang Tianyun with a strange expression. Cold sweat appeared on Yang Tianyun's forehead. He made an innocent gesture, which meant that the Sea of Soul formation didn't take advantage of them. However, everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. The transaction was carried out on the spot. Mu Fengjun hurriedly came forward and cast a few hand seals, absorbing the golden armored man into his body. He then returned to Mu Hong's side with great joy. Yunxiao was overjoyed when he got more than 50 kilograms of memory origin gold. The Mu family is indeed rich. I hope that we will have more opportunities to cooperate and trade with the Mu family in the future. Our Red Moon City is also very happy to make friends with the Mu family. Ning Kuyuet said with a smile. It's the same for our Blade sect. And our Soul Devourer clan. Can you leave us your contact information? We can work together in the long term. Our Baiming family also has the intention to get to know my lord and trade precious items with him. Myriad Stars Valley is the same. We just happened to obtain a lot of good things recently. Let's exchange more. After Mu Hong was stunned for a moment, he was immediately overjoyed. He was extremely smug. Even the 7 major forces were fighting to befriend him. It seemed that he had given the Mu family a lot of face. Just as he was feeling extremely pleased with himself and was grinning from ear to ear, everyone's voices suddenly stopped, and a strange phenomenon began to appear in the sky. Thick black lines suddenly appeared in the blood-red setting sun, as if the sky had been torn apart. Those thick black lines were like long snakes slithering in the air. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Vortexes of different sizes formed one by one, surging and devouring each other. The whole world seemed to have been created by chaos. Under the shroud of red, the entire purple cloud peak was illuminated. The huge red moon was as demonic as a human's eye. It stared coldly at the ground, making people shiver. Yunxiao was horrified. Under such a weather, he had a faint feeling that his lunar pupils were about to flare up. He hurriedly circulated his primordial qi and sealed all the meridians around his eyes, only then did he manage to suppress the lunar pupils. Don't panic. Jiang Churen's expression was solemn. The passage is about to open. His words immediately calmed everyone down. The light from the crimson moon grew brighter and brighter, and a huge red pillar of light shot out from it, rushing to the ground. At this moment, the purple cloud peak seemed to have sensed something. A purple light enshrouded the mountain and rose into the sky to meet the light coming from the red moon. The purple and red clashed together, creating a strange two-dimensional space. Under the force of the collision, a large number of strange runes appeared, scattered in the sky, and then disappeared one by one. As the strange plane opened up, the mountain and the sky began to stabilize. Everyone looked up with a solemn expression. This strange scene and the mighty force that was emitted made everyone feel reverence in their hearts. Jiang Churen turned around and looked at the people of the Red Moon City. Hongyu, Kuwei, I'll leave the matters of the Red Moon City to you. Don't worry, husband, Ruan Hongyu said hurriedly. Be careful. Don't force anything. Jiang Ruame's cursed seal had already been removed, and the matter of finding Tianxi was no longer as urgent. I will, Jiang Churen nodded. Hongyu will be in charge of all matters in the city, while Kuyu will be in charge of the city's security. Ning Kuyue smiled. Don't worry, my lord. The city will still be here. Even if I die, the city will still be here. Jiang Churan then laughed heroically and said, I'm relieved. People of Red Moon City, if you want to enter the end of time, come with me. He was the first one to fly up and fly towards the strange plane of space between the sky and the earth. Behind him, dozens of experts of the Red Moon City immediately followed. They were all martial artists who were stuck at the bottleneck of their cultivation, hoping to find a chance to break through. I can't believe I'm able to enter the celestial realm in my lifetime. Yong Tianyun sighed slightly before flying up into the sky. Xiu ran and Fu Yu followed closely behind. At this moment, a large number of warriors were flying toward the strange plane, and Mu Fenghua also leaped up gently. Suddenly, he turned around and looked at Yunxiao. I hope to have a chance to fight with you. The bargaining chip is 120 gene of memory origin gold. Yunxiao was stunned for a moment, and then a smile appeared on his lips as he said, as you wish, I'll accompany you at any time. The sky was filled with martial artists, flying into the plane like a plague of locusts. Yunxiao turned into a beam of light and flew toward the flat surface. This was the second time he had come here, and he had a different feeling in his heart. Suddenly, an inexplicable force pressed down on him. It broke through the void and turned into a yellow light. It turned into a beautiful rune and flew down like a butterfly. Yunxiao's face flickered. Although the force had no ill intent, it was very powerful, and he had no idea what it was trying to do. He pointed with a single hand, and a bolt of lightning directly blasted over. Bang! The butterfly-shaped yellow light exploded, but a tiny force rushed out of it. Yunxiao was careless, and it hit his right shoulder, leaving a bloody wound. Only then did the surrounding cultivators realize that something was amiss, and they all retreated far away in horror. Yunxiao was taken aback. After the strike, the aura of the man in the void had completely disappeared, leaving no trace behind. At this moment, a huge suction force began to appear on the surface. Within 1,000 meters, there was no need to fly. They were directly sucked in by the force. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, countless cultivators had broken through the air and entered, and there was still a steady stream of people entering from below. Ruan Hongyu looked at it for a while and said, let's all go back. In about a month's time, this immortal realm passageway will disappear, and the people inside will all be transported out by themselves. Sister Qiue, I'll have to trouble you during the time when Shu Ran isn't around. You don't have to tell me. I know, Ning Qiue said indifferently. After saying that, she immediately turned into a ray of light and flew in the direction of the Red Moon City. Ruan Hongyu's face turned cold. She snorted and turned around. Uncle Bieli, I'll have to trouble you to maintain order here. I'll be returning to the city first. The city lord has already instructed us to leave the daily order of the Red Moon City to Lady Hongyu. Jiang Bieli laughed. Ruan Hongyu explained a few things and left with a dozen people in a flash of light. When Yunxiao was sucked in by the power of the immortal realm, all the primordial energy in his body stopped circulating, and he felt like he was about to be torn apart. In the blink of an eye, all the pain disappeared. He had already been transported to the end of time. When he opened his eyes, he was actually in a vast white sea. There's an ocean in this place? Yunxiao was stunned for a moment, but then he was relieved. He did not know how big this immortal realm was, so it was normal for there to be an ocean in it. He looked at his injured shoulder, and his expression became very ugly. He had already recuperated from the wound, but the power of the seal remained in his body and could not be erased. It was only then that Yunxiao realized the man's intention. He wanted to leave a mark on him, and his face darkened as he fell into deep thought. He actually left a mark on my body so brazenly. It's clear that this person has absolute confidence in himself and will probably come looking for me soon. Should I wait for this person to come and see who he is, or should I erase the mark? Yunxiao pondered for a moment before he said, I'd better erase it first. That person's strength is extremely strong. I might not be able to suppress him. With that, he formed a hand seal with one hand. A stream of demonic chi gushed out from his dantian and rushed directly into his right shoulder, starting to devour and corrode that force. What made Yunxiao's face change was that even the devil essence had little effect on the mark. This is really not fun. The expression on his face changed several times. Based on the feeling on his right shoulder, it would probably take 10 days to half a month to erase the mark, which was enough for that thing to find him. I can only deal with it as it comes. He calmed down and took out a jade pendant that Ning Qiue had given him. He broke it and a message came into his mind. Yunxiao's face changed drastically. A fierce gleam flickered in his eyes as he looked at the vast sea and said to himself, no wonder Jiang Churen came in personally. But according to the information passed down from the throne, if we want to find Tianxi, we must use the moon eye as a guide. I hope there won't be any conflict with Jiang Churen. Yunxiao raised his head and looked up at the sky, where a huge blood moon hung high. This moon was not the one in the sky of the heavenly martial arts realm. It should be something unique to the world. According to the records that had been passed down over the years, this blood moon would not move, and it was the best reference for determining the direction. The ruins Ning Qiue mentioned are about 100,000 miles to the southeast of the blood moon. I remember that it was a desert. When Yunxiao found himself in the opposite position, he did not waste any time. Instead, he turned into a bolt of lightning and flew away. The ocean was boundless and seemed to be a little too calm. The place where he had obtained the moon pupil was a forest. The only similarity was that it was rich in spiritual qi, far above all the spiritual mountains and treasured lands in the heavenly martial arts realm. This was also the reason why a large number of martial artists were brave enough to enter the celestial realm. Even if they could not obtain any benefits, they could at least use the astonishing spiritual qi inside to break through the barriers of martial arts. The density of spiritual qi in any place was not inferior to that of a spirit gathering array set up with top-grade primordial stones. As long as one stayed in a fixed place and waited for the immortal land to open, it was still very safe. At least, it was enough to earn back the 500 million medial-grade primordial stones that they used to climb the mountain. But, Yunxiao would naturally not waste such an excellent opportunity to practice by meditating. He flew for a while, and suddenly a figure fell from the sky in front of him. It should be the cultivator who had just been teleported in. His body clearly lost balance in the air, and he fell directly into the sea. Voila! Suddenly, the calm sea water split open, and a huge long black fish broke through the air. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed the martial artist who had not yet regained his consciousness. After the blackfish ate the cultivator, it fell into the sea. Yunxiao's eyes narrowed, and a huge black shadow gradually emerged from the sea where the fish had fallen. The falling dark fish seemed to have discovered something as well. It was rather intelligent, and its body began to sway violently in the air, actually stopping the force of its fall. It began to struggle forward as if it wanted to escape. Voila! The surface of the ocean split open once more as a gigantic sea beast that was tens of times the size of the blackfish revealed half of its head. It opened its mouth wide and sucked in with all its might. The struggling blackfish was instantly caught by a whirlwind and sucked into the sea beast's mouth. After swallowing the dark fish, the sea beast blinked its lantern-like eyes in satisfaction. As if it had seen Yunxiao, it looked at him with its wild eyes. Yunxiao trembled when he was stared at by the gaze, and a sense of extreme danger welled up in him. He teleported a few times in an instant and shot straight up into the sky, rising more than 10,000 meters in an instant before he was freed from the dangerous aura. The sea beast stared at Yunxiao for a while, then slowly sank to the bottom of the sea, and the surface of the sea returned to its calm. Yunxiao breathed a heavy sigh of relief. There were many powerful and nameless existences like this in this world. Perhaps it was because of the spirit qi here, but people of the same level were stronger than demon beasts in the heavenly martial realm.